right, let's talk about our last chapter, food security, hunger, and malnutrition. What is food security? Food security is defined as a condition whereby a person is able to obtain sufficient amount of nutritious food to support an active, healthy lifestyle. Many people are surprised to learn that there is enough food produced in the world to provide every person with at least 2,700 calories each day. In other words, food insecurity is not caused by insufficient worldwide food. Rather, it is caused by an inability to obtain sufficient food to feed oneself or one's family. Other constraints, such as limited physical or mental function, can contribute to food insecurity. In reality, the principal factors related to worldwide food insecurity are poverty, war, and natural disaster. There's a varied responses to food insecurity. Feelings, family dynamics, and social interaction can play a part in how we respond to food insecurity. In short, long-term and short-term consequences of food insecurity can be devastating for every person in a household. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, American households spend $44 per person on food purchases every week. As you might expect, households experiencing food insecurity spend considerably less. In fact, a recent government report estimated that food insecure households spend 33% less on food than do food secure households of the same size and composition. A person or household is classified having either low food security or very low food security. Households classifying as having low food security experience reduced food quality, variety, or desirability, although there is little indication of reduced food intake. This is not the case with households classified as having very low food security. These households are more likely to report disrupted eating patterns and reduced food intake. Recent surveys results indicate that 15% of Americans, more than 17 million households, struggled to provide enough food for all of their family members in 2009. Approximately one-third of food insecure households reported their eating patterns were greatly affected by lack of money or other resources. Families with incomes below the poverty line, many of which are headed by single mothers, were at greatest risk of hunger in 2009. Given the current state of the U.S. economy and the rising cost of food, the number of U.S. households experiencing food insecurity is expected to increase. Some 23% of all children currently living in the United States, that's nearly 17 million, live in households where food is scarce at times. Poverty is the underlying factor associated with food insecurity. A person's risk of experiencing food insecurity in the United States is associated with income, ethnicity, a family structure, and location of the home. Because many of these risk factors are interrelated, it can be difficult to determine the extent to which one independently contributes to food insecurity. While many factors play a role, specifically poverty, poverty is often the most common thread that ties all of these together. Experts estimate that 40% of adults who request emergency food assistance are employed. In 2009 alone, approximately 5 million households turned to private assistance programs to provide food for their families. Households with income above the poverty line also experience food insecurity. Although 1 in 3 households living in poverty is food insecure, some households with incomes above the poverty line also experience this food insecurity. An unexpected expense such as medical-related problems or a repair bill can cause some people, at least temporarily, not to have the financial means to purchase sufficient amount of food. So in addition to income and poverty, many individuals and socioeconomic factors can predispose a person or family to food insecurity. For example, in the United States, food insecurity is more prevalent in certain regions of the country and among certain ethnic groups. Black and Latino households are at higher risk of food insecurity than most other racial and ethnic groups, and households headed by single women are at even higher risk. Individuals living in urban and rural areas are more likely to experience food insecurity than those who are living in suburban regions. It is important to recognize, however, that all three of these factors, ethnicity, head of household, and living location, are strongly associated with income status. Again, poverty is the most telling risk factor of them all. Socioeconomically, disadvantaged communities often lack access to affordable or nutritious foods. In such an environment referred to as food desert, residents rely on local food outlets that offer limited and expensive food choices that are low in nutritional value. A lack of supermarkets within disadvantaged communities presents additional hardships. Individuals must either purchase groceries at local convenience stores or navigate public transportation to other communities that have more affordable market choices. Socioeconomic disparities have adverse health incomes, and disadvantaged populations tend to have high rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Let's look at our states as a whole and which one have low insecurity, food insecurity prevalence. Consequences of food insecurity. Some studies have shown that mothers in food insecure households shield their children from hunger by consuming less foods themselves. For this reason, women often experience the negative consequences of food insecurity before their children do. Despite their parents' best efforts, it is children who experience the most significant long-term effects of living in a food insecure household. Although parents often try to protect their children from the realities of food insecurity, interviews with children reveal circumstantial awareness that is not always apparent to other family members. Studies show that food insecure children tend to have difficulties in school, earn lower scores on standardized tests, miss more days of school, and exhibit more behavioral problems and depression, and may be at increased risk of suicide. In addition to women and children, older adults are especially high risk for food insecurity. They often experience food insecurity differently than children. Elders with limited mobility and poor health, for example, may have food available to them but may experience difficulty or anxiety associated with meal preparation. So fortunately, there are a number of food-based assistance programs in the United States. We have the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. This was formerly known as the Food Stamp Program. It's administered and operated by the USDA, and it helps more than 28 million people pay for food each month. Individuals who are eligible for the SNAP are given electronic benefit transfer cards that can be used like debit cards to make food purchases at grocery stores, convenience stores, and many farmers markets. A household monthly monetary allotment depends on the number of people in the household and household members' combined income. The maximum monthly SNAP allotment is $200 per person and about $668 per household. SNAP participants can only use their EBT cards to purchase food items. Cards cannot be used to purchase tobacco, alcohol, or paper products or other non-food items. There's a special supplemental nutrition program for women called WIC. This federally funded program, administered by the USDA, assists pregnant women and families with young children in making nutritious food choices. Individuals enrolled in WIC receive coupons that can be used for a variety of WIC-approved nutrient-dense foods such as peanut butter, milk, rice, beans, cereal, and canned tuna. And many farmer markets accept WIC coupons, allowing parents to purchase a variety of fresh, locally grown fruits and vegetables. Other federally funded food-based assistance programs be the National School Lunch Programs, School Breakfast Programs, and then there are also privately food-assisted programs such as food banks, food pantry, food kitchen, and the Food Recovery Program. For example, the Food Recovery Program collects and redistributes discarded food that otherwise would have gone to waste. Recovered foods are donated by food pantries, emergency kitchens, and homeless shelters. They're donated to them to provide millions of hungry people with food. I believe that I believe that Panera or St. Louis Bread Company actually participates in the food recovery program. Their breads and bagels and all that are collected each night, if I'm not mistaken. Here's some more programs, some that we didn't talk about, like for Head Start, promote school readiness and enhance the social and cognitive development of children, providing education on health, nutritional, and social and other services to be enrolled children and families. So what causes worldwide hunger and malnutrition? The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United States estimates that 16% of people living in poor countries do not have enough to eat, and as a result experience persistent hunger. Asia has the largest number of hungry people, but sub-Saharan Africa has the highest percentage. In this region, 239 million people, 33% of the population, do not have enough food to eat. Here is a depiction of what that looks like with the international prevalence of food insecurity. Factors contributing to this food insecurity could be political unrest. Political turmoil can displace millions of people from their homes and force them to relocate to crude facilities set up for refugees. Because of the danger and logistical problems associated with political unrest, it can be difficult for relief agencies to provide much-needed aid to the innocent civilians. Also, urbanization, the use of land for reasons other than feeding a region's people and supporting local economies, can contribute significantly to food shortage. Without the land to grow crops, people cannot produce adequate amounts and varieties of food for themselves and their family, and as a result, many people have relocated from rural regions to urban ones with the hopes of finding employment opportunities. This shift in American population, called urbanization, is both a consequence and cause of food shortages in many parts of the world. Urbanization and industrialization have had profound impacts on population demographics, transforming food systems and creating new nutritional challenges. Population growth across some of the poorest regions of the world has significantly increased, and the challenge of providing adequate food and water to all those in need. As population proliferates, the ability of a government and assistance programs to provide even the most basic needs, such as food and water, can be compromised, and shelter may be compromised even further. Gender inequality. In many developing nations, a gap exists between the opportunities that are made available to men and women. Some experts believe that promoting gender equality among underprivileged peoples holds the greatest promise for reversing the steadily increasing trend of global hunger. For example, providing equal education and employment opportunities to girls and women might increase individuals' earning capabilities, improve mental, nutritional, and health, and bolster overall per capita income. Some malnourished people consume sufficient calories but lack certain nutrients, whereas others lack both calories and nutrients. Countless infants and children suffer from iron and iodine deficiencies, both of which can impair growth and cognitive development. The lives of millions of preschool-age children are further compromised by vitamin A deficiency, which can cause blindness and many other serious consequences. UNICEF, has helped the health and welfare of nearly 1/3 of the world's population that have been affected by vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Like food insecurity, women, infants, and children are especially vulnerable to malnutrition. When experienced during pregnancy, malnutrition can deplete a mother's nutritional stores and increase the risk of having low birth weight babies. Poor maternal nutritional status can also increase the risk of neonatal death. In fact, some studies estimate that nearly 60% of the deaths of infants and young children in the world are caused in part by malnutrition. While it's difficult to provide adequate food to individuals living in such impoverished conditions, the availability of ready-to-use therapeutic food, called RUTF, has overcome many such geographic and logistical challenges. They are pre-packaged and require no preparation. Their ingredients are based mainly peanut butter, vegetable oil, milk powder, sugar, vitamins, and minerals. Ruffs are becoming the standard of care when it comes to refeeding malnourished children worldwide. Extensive food insecurity and malnutrition can result in an entire nation of adults with reduced capacities for physical work and therefore work productivity overall. International organizations typically depend on efforts provided by organizations such as WHO, World Health Organization, or the United Nations, Peace Corps, and Heifer International. Organizations like these help individuals and entire communities make lasting changes that ultimately improve health and food security across the developing world. The United Nations has 192 members, and though the organization serves many purposes, combating international hunger is among its most important efforts. For example, UNICEF, a component of the UN, presented a conceptual framework in 2011 that provides communities with incentives for working to improve quality of life, such as by relieving hunger in the world's poorest countries. Proposed incentives include financial reimbursement for families whose children attend school and for families who start their own business. This type of initiative is called Conditional Cash Transfer Program. President John F. Kennedy, who challenged students in 1961 to serve their country by working to improve quality of life for people in developing countries, inspired the U.S. Peace Corps. The mission of the Peace Corps was, and still is, to promote world peace and friendship by 1. Assisting interested countries in meeting their needs for trained men and women, 2. Bringing a better understanding of Americans to people in other countries, and 3. Helping promote a better understanding of other peoples on the part of the Americans. Since the Peace Corps were developed, more than 200,000 people have served in more than 139 countries. The Peace Corps offers the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others by addressing the problems of food insecurity and malnutrition throughout the world. The Hefner International is a humanitarian effort with a global commitment to foster environmentally sound farming methods that combat both hunger and environmental concerns. The focus on long-term development rather than temporary relief helps restore hope, health, and dignity among those with few resources. Most remarkable, however, is the Heifer's Living Loans program, which ensures project sustainability. In a living loan, a community receives a gift of livestock that brings benefits such as food, wool, and non-mechanized water. To repay this loan, the community gifts the offspring of the livestock to other farmers or community. The secondary donation repays the original debt while bringing the hope of prosperity to others. The simple concept of passing on the gift is a founding philosophy on which Heifer International was created, and the means by which it was fostered a living cycle of sustainability for over 65 years. Although the problem of food insecurity may seem staggering both at home and abroad, it's important to remember that there is much an individual can do to take action against hunger. Despite the scope of the problem, your actions can make a difference in the lives of others. Working alone or collectively toward the elimination of hunger and malnutrition is a worldwide and noble personal and professional priority. The American Dietetic Association is one of the several professional organizations that work to alleviate world hunger by challenging its members to take action. For instance, the ADA recently created a diabetic practice group to encourage dietitians to work with each other and the other health professionals to reduce poverty and hunger in their communities. The American Society for Nutrition is another organization that's committed to the development of international strategies and policies that can help alleviate hunger and poverty around the world.